What's going on, guys? Aero here, and guys, if you consider yourself to be a Nintendo fan, then chances are that you probably like Mario Kart. The Mario Kart series has always been a lot of fun with all of the new games that have come out. It's just a lot of fun using those items while you're racing and all of the craziness that can happen throughout the game. But even if you consider yourself to be a big fan of Mario Kart, there are definitely a few things that I'm sure you didn't know about Mario Kart. And so today, I've compiled a list of 10 things that you probably don't know about Mario Kart, and so let's get started. Starting off this list at number 10, we have PacMan in Mario Kart. Now I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably thinking, Aero, I've played through every single Mario Kart game, from the ones on the Super Nintendo to the N64 to the GameCube to the DS to the Game Boy, the 3DS, every single Mario Kart game you could imagine, and I don't remember playing as PacMan in any one of these games or even having PacMan as a playable character. But I'm sure a lot of you guys probably don't know is that Mario Kart actually has different versions in arcades. There's actually a really cool arcade game of Mario Kart that you can play only in arcades, and it's really cool. I think it's called like Mario Kart GP, and they have some other versions of it as well, and this version of Mario Kart can only be played in arcades. So if you guys go to like Chuck E. Cheese or Dave & Buster's or someplace like that, I haven't been to an arcade in a long time, but I remember the last time I went there was a Mario Kart game, and so that was really cool. I got to play it, and it's a new type of Mario Kart. It's not like they just took one from like the GameCube or something and just put it on an arcade. It's actually a brand new Mario Kart, and it's got like new tracks and stuff like that, and in Mario Kart on the arcade, or like Mario Kart GP, PacMan is a playable character, which is definitely something that's interesting. I know right now in like Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, people look at Link and Isabelle and Inkling Boy and Inkling Girl and think about how these characters don't belong in Mario Kart, but talk about having PacMan in Mario Kart. That's pretty interesting as well. Alright, so coming in at number 9 is the Mii Sphinx. Now if you guys have played through Mario Kart Wii, and if you guys remember the track called Dry Dry Ruins, then you'll probably remember that the Great Sphinx appeared on this track. But something that's really interesting about this track is that if you guys played on this track as your Mii character in Mario Kart Wii, then the Great Sphinx's face on the track would actually be replaced with your Mii character's face. And I think that that's really cool. I didn't know anything about this because I don't play as my Mii character that much in a Mario Kart game, so I would have never played on this track as my Mii anyway, but I went back to my old Mario Kart Wii and tried this out, and sure enough it worked. So that was definitely really cool. I didn't know that you could have your Mii face be replaced on like something that was a part of the track, so that's something that I just found pretty interesting in Mario Kart Wii. Coming in number 8 is the Super Tiny mode in Super Mario Kart. Now, Mario Kart difficulty has always been determined by what CC you choose. 50cc like the easy one, 100cc like the normal one, and then 150cc like the hard one. Except for Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where they've introduced 200cc, but before that it's always been like this. Now in Super Mario Kart, you can actually make the game even harder if you want to. Now to do this, all you have to do is when you're choosing a character, you want to hold down the Y button, and then once you've chosen a character, you press the A button while still holding down the Y button. Doing this will result in your character starting out small when they're starting the race. Now when you're starting out small, it's basically like you've already been struck by lightning, so that's pretty cool because that means the game's actually going to be really hard for you, because when you're small, your speed's going to be reduced. You're not going to be going your normal speed anyway. I think you're going like a fourth lower than your normal speed or something like that. I don't know the exact number, but you're still going to be going slower than how you would normally go, and also all the other characters are going to be bigger, so you can actually get squished by other players as well, and so that can make the game pretty hard. And I think that that's really cool how they have like a secret way of making the game harder. I don't think that they have anything like that in past Mario Kart games recently, so I think it'll be really cool to have something like this again, but it's still pretty interesting how you could have a chance to make the game even harder if you really wanted to by just holding down 2 buttons in Super Mario Kart. Now this next thing that I have was something that I found really funny, and it involves the battle mode in Mario Kart. Now if you've ever played through the battle mode in Mario Kart with multiple people, then something that's frowned upon by many people is when you look at your opponent's screen to see where they are so that you could go over there and throw a whole bunch of items at them. Many people don't approve of this, and a lot of people even consider it to be a form of cheating because it gives yourself an unfair advantage by knowing where your opponent is so that you could go over there and throw a whole bunch of items at them. But what's really funny is that if you bought the official handbook from Nintendo about Super Mario Kart, and if you looked at the section where it taught you on how to get better at Super Mario Kart in the battle mode, it specifically says to keep an eye out on your opponent's screen to see where they are. Now I thought that this was really funny because of how Nintendo is actually encouraging you to look at your opponent's screen, and I just thought it was really funny. Now I don't know how you guys feel about this. Do you guys still think it's a form of cheating? Do you guys think it's okay to do that? Definitely let me know, but I just thought that this was really funny. Alright, so for number 6, we have some interesting information on the bullet bill item. Now I'm sure that you all know about the bullet bill item. You can pretty much just get this item from doing bad in a Mario Kart race, and it will let you turn into a bullet bill, which will automatically take you throughout the track at a really high speed, and it will also hurt other players for you as well, and it's a really fun item and a lot of people really like it. Now what's really interesting is that if you look into the code for Mario Kart Wii, and if you look at the code for the bullet bill item, you'll see that the code is really similar to the code for the chain chomp item in Mario Kart Double Dash. Now if you guys remember the chain chomp item from Double Dash, it was basically a chain chomp that would hook onto your cart and pull you along the track. Now the code for the bullet bill in Mario Kart Wii and the code for the chain chomp item in Mario Kart Double Dash are really similar with only a few tweaks. And what's really interesting is that the code for the chain chomp icon is still present deep within the code for Mario Kart Wii, except it's been replaced with the bullet bill icon. And so this leads many people to believe that the bullet bill replaced the chain chomp. Now even though that the chain chomp was a really fun item in Double Dash, I think that the bullet bill is a more iconic item, but either way this was something that I found really interesting. Next up at number 5, we have Mario Kart 64 sponsors. Now in every single Mario Kart game that we've had, there have always been advertisements and sponsors that appear on the side of many of the tracks while you're racing. But what's really cool about Mario Kart 64 is that in the Japan version of Mario Kart 64, the advertisements and sponsors that you see were actually based off of real life companies. Now you guys can see right here that they had Koopa Air, which was based off of Goodyear. They also had Luigi P, which was based off of Agip. They had Mario, which was based off of Marlboro, and then they had Yoshi 1, which was based off of Mobile 1. Now all of these were obviously changed to the American release and the international release to avoid legal problems, but I still thought it was pretty cool how they incorporated real life companies into this Mario Kart game. And I think it's really cool when Nintendo does stuff like this. They're doing something like this in Splatoon 2 as well, where like you guys can see that they have like credit card companies based off of like MasterCard and stuff, and I think it's just really cool when they incorporate real life stuff into actual video games. So by now, I'm sure that a lot of you guys know who Mr. Yabuki is. Mr. Yabuki is the producer of ARMS, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys saw Mr. Yabuki play ARMS like a god at E3. But what's really cool about Mr. Yabuki that some of you may not know is that he was actually behind a lot of the development of Mario Kart 8 and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. And so they did an interview with Mr. Yabuki and some other developers about Mario Kart 8, and they sort of talked to him, and what's really cool and something that he revealed during that interview is that they were thinking of different things to put in a Mario Kart game when they were first developing Mario Kart 8. And he was talking about how in Mario Kart 7 they introduced being able to go underwater and being able to go in the sky by having the glider. But something that he was talking about was how they wanted to have something else in Mario Kart 8 that was new as well. And he was talking about how in the beginning they first thought of an idea of having a drill on every single kart that was going to allow every character to go underground. So basically he was talking about how there were going to be like tracks with underground sections, and it was going to be like a drill that you were going to be able to use to go underground, and then you were going to be able to tunnel underground and stuff and go through an underground section and then come back up again by tunneling upward. And he was talking about how that was something that they were planning before, but then they scrapped that idea and decided to go with the anti-gravity thing, and I think that that was a much better idea. I think it was cool how the anti-gravity had so much potential of having like cool different track designs and stuff like that, but either way I think a drill just wouldn't have made that much sense, especially for tracks like Rainbow Road where like they're just floating in space. Like how would you dig underground into Rainbow Road? I don't see it making a lot of sense, but I think anti-gravity was a really cool mechanic to have, and I think it's just cool listening to how they have different ideas of what they want to put in a Mario Kart game before they actually make their final decision. Coming in at number 3, we have alcohol in Mario Kart. Now I'm sure that you all know whenever you complete a cup in a Mario Kart game, there's always like a little celebration that they have at the end before presenting to you your trophy. Now in Super Mario Kart, when you guys completed a cup and at the end when you had your celebration, there was actually an animation for every single character throwing a bottle of champagne up into the air. But what was really interesting was that in the Japan version of Super Mario Kart, if you picked Bowser or Peach, their victory animations actually had them drinking the champagne bottle and getting pretty drunk. And this was definitely an image that Nintendo of America didn't want to have, so when they had the American version of Super Mario Kart, they quickly took out these animations and just replaced them with throwing a champagne bottle up into the air. But I still thought it was a little bit funny how they had alcohol inside of a Mario Kart game, which is a game supposed to be targeted towards kids. But either way, I think it was pretty cool, and I definitely didn't know that those animations existed. So coming in at number 2 is Donkey Kong Jr. Now if I show you guys this roster right here from Super Mario Kart, then I'm sure that a lot of you guys would probably just assume that this character is Donkey Kong. But what's really interesting is that this character isn't Donkey Kong at all, it's Donkey Kong Jr. Now because of how Super Mario Kart came out in 1992, Donkey Kong Country didn't exist yet, and so because of that, Nintendo didn't have Donkey Kong to put into this game, so they put Donkey Kong Jr. instead. Now you guys can tell that this is Donkey Kong Jr. because of how he's wearing a tank top, and Donkey Kong doesn't wear a tank top, Donkey Kong has a tie instead. Every single character usually has something that goes along with it, like Donkey Kong Jr. has a tank top, Donkey Kong has a tie, and then Diddy Kong has his cap, so you guys can see right here that this isn't Donkey Kong. But in the future games of Mario Kart, Donkey Kong Jr. would be replaced by Donkey Kong because by then Donkey Kong was relevant. And finally, for number 1, we have the Mario Kart Hero. Now in 2013, a 10-year-old boy named Griffin and his younger brother Ryder were in a car on the highway with their great-grandmother driving. But all of a sudden, Griffin's grandmother had a minor heart attack and passed out while driving on the highway. Quickly reacting, Griffin was able to take control of the steering wheel and steer the car on the highway safely to the side. There he was able to call for help for his grandma. When the news and media interviewed him and asked how in the world he was able to steer the car by himself, Griffin replied by saying that he's learned a lot about driving from playing Mario Kart. Now I think that this is just an amazing story because there's always those people in life who tell you like video games are never going to get you anywhere and video games are bad for you, but hearing stories like this are just very heartwarming of how by playing Mario Kart this kid was able to save his grandmother's life. So yeah, there you have it. Those are 10 things that you probably don't know about Mario Kart. Definitely be sure to click that like button if you guys enjoyed this video, and also comment down below on which fact you found the most interesting. I'm always curious to see what you guys have to say. Be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. I've got a lot of cool Nintendo content coming, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Go follow me on Twitter at Aero if you ever want to tweet me something or ask me something. I'm always able to reply to everyone on Twitter, so definitely be sure to go and follow me there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.